And we have a little thing going here in the office where I'm always cold. So when he's not around, I turn the thermostat and the AC off. Sometimes I forget to turn it back on. Whenever he gets back from lunch or any of his appointments, he comes in, he goes into his office, and before long, Pastor Bill comes out and says, "Sharon, I'm really hot in there." And I think, oh my goodness, I forgot to turn it back on for you.
I'm not even sure if he remembers this, but I was 13 when he first came to the church. And there were only maybe 5 youth at the time. And Pastor had a little message for us, just the youth, and he was asking us what we wanted in a mate. And I thought, I'm 13, how do I know what I want in a mate? And so he was telling us all the biblical aspects, and so afterwards he had us write down what we'd like to have in a mate. So on top of all the spiritual aspects of it, this is what I wrote down. I wrote down I wanted a man who was 6'3", 230 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes, who liked roller coasters and volleyball. Have you seen my husband? So Pastor Bill, you are a huge influential part of my entire life since the age of 13. I married the man who was 6'3", 230 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. They had a volleyball court in their yard, and he loves roller coasters. And for that, I'm grateful.
Pastor was leading the staff during a prayer morning, and he was concluding the prayer, and I had my head bowed and my eyes closed, but I opened them. For some reason, I looked down and I saw this big black bug by my foot, and I let out a scream. Talk about embarrassed. That ended the prayer time. Everybody's staring at me, including Pastor, and I'm thinking, what are they gonna do? What's he gonna say? Pastor didn't say anything. He just walked back to where I was sitting in the pew, looked down, saw the bug, and stepped on it. Not only did I interrupt Pastor with a scream during his prayer time, but he just stepped on a bug and killed it for me.
So one of my earliest memories of Pastor Bill was when I was about 12 years old. I went to children's camp, and I had sat under his ministry in the sanctuary for a few years by then, and I was used to his demeanor on the platform. So we get to church camp, and I see him, and he's not in his suit, he's in a tank top or something. And I was watching him, we're doing church camp activities, and I'm watching him, I'm like, that's not Pastor Bill. And I thought, well, I know Krista has a twin, so maybe Pastor Bill has a twin too, because he's not that quiet when he's on the pulpit.
Ruth and I and Pastor, we were up at the service down at the little church. And all of a sudden, I played the piano, but all of a sudden there was a big noise. I fell asleep at the piano. The book fell off of the piano and made a big noise, and Pastor looked at me, and you should have seen those eyes.
Everywhere we go, people think we're twins. I don't even think we look alike. One time a person asked me, thank me for the message that I preached, and after all those times I kept saying I'm not his twin, I said, okay, thank you, and went on. We do go to McDonald's every day for lunch, and everywhere we go they recognize us. And when we go in there, of course, Pastor Bill asked for French fries with no salt, and we have pockets full of salt because we want French fries that are hot. When he asked for French fries with no salt and they come up bad, he calls, and I believe that when he calls and he says, hey, I'm calling because my name is Bill, he said, oh, Bill Anzavino, they know him because he calls so many times.
I don't know if many of you know this, but just as good as a pastor that Pastor Bill is, he's also that good of an athlete. And so over the years, I've enjoyed playing football with him and basketball, different sports. But just as Superman has his kryptonite, for some reason, Pastor Bill has his kryptonite as well. If you put him in a basketball court behind the three-point line, he has a Steph Curry anointing. But something strange happens when you move him within 3 feet of the basket and ask him to make a layup. The anointing goes from the Steph Curry anointing to the Steve Urkel anointing. I'm not sure what happens there, but it's strange. We'll find out when we get to heaven.
So I was 6 years old when Pastor Bill came to the church. So honestly, the only thing I remembered about Pastor Bill was that he brought kids with him. and he had a daughter who came with a purse full of Avon samples that she passed out willingly, and we became best friends. A 6-year-old's recollection of Pastor Bill doesn't probably sound like everyone else's, but I will tell you that I remember that he was a champion at winning stuffed animals at a carnival. And so in his house, it had 3 stories, and the 3rd story was a playroom. And when you went into the playroom, it had probably 25 or more giant stuffed animals, life-size giant stuffed animals, way bigger than any I've seen as adults. When I went to his house, his daughter allowed me to pick a stuffed animal to take home. She told me that her dad had won all those stuffed animals for her, and I thought, this is the greatest man I've ever met. And it turned out he was.